Welcome to the Date Forever podcast. Keep your relationship fueled up with strategies discovered by couples and experts. Because at Fuel Collective, we believe better relationships will equal a better world. You are about to discover specific insights and tools that cost little or nothing to implement to help you date forever. And now, here are your hosts, a couple who always have a half-packed suitcase and a date night in the calendar, Sammy and Nathan Yeager.
Hello and welcome to Date Forever. In this week's episode, we're chatting about the value of having perpetual first dates, how overcoming challenges and adversity as a couple can help level up your relationship, and understanding each other's backgrounds and consciously creating the relationship and family dynamics you want. But before we get into that, Sammy, what's been fueling you up this week?
I had such a social weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had drinks at the beautiful, beautiful opera bar with a girlfriend that I haven't seen in almost a year.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, we had a double date on Saturday night with some interstate visitors.
You did?
Yeah, and then I had a girly Sunday sesh on a boat cruising the harbour.
Amazing.
Yeah, so my relationship and network tank is feeling pretty full, and it was fun. It was definitely an indulgent weekend with a few drinks and eating out and all the things.
Paying the price for it now?
A little bit, but it was worth it.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, what about you? What fueled you up this past week?
Yeah, mine was a little bit of a social one as well. So, yeah, like you said, we caught up with a couple of friends from interstate. And then I also just caught up with a mate who I hadn't seen for a year or two.
Pandemic life.
yeah, that's it. But yeah, went for a mountain bike with him and caught up with him, which was really nice. But I think just like another small little fuel up was that we just seem to have got our house into a really nice state.
What, this is like week 5 or week 6 in the new place?
Yeah, it is.
And we're actually starting to nest now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Like not just working around the boxes, but like things have found their homes.
Yeah, they have, haven't they? And it has, I don't know, just this last week we kind of did a little clean up, and it just seems like every time that we do a little clean or something like that, we'll just put a few extra bits in their actual homes rather than just laying around the place, and it's really feeling like it's coming together now, which is amazing.
Yeah, I think this last little stretch of moving has definitely reiterated how important it is to have a humming household.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. There's so many things that are just so much more complicated when they don't have a home or when they're just not in their right spot.
Yeah, when your system and your process for doing laundry and groceries and cooking and cleaning and all of that stuff is disrupted, it takes so much energy and time to get stuff done.
Yeah, and just brain power to actually be like, oh, where is that spatula? It should be in the drawer, but it's clearly not there.
Yeah, oh, well, that's good. That's a good fuel up.
Yeah, it is a great one. But now, here's this week's guests.
Today we've got Breonna and Quinton Baker joining us. Breonna is a wife and educator. Breonna has a passion for assisting others to reach their fullest potential and beyond. She and her husband Quinton reside in North Carolina and enjoy networking and collaborating with others across the world. Breonna is a certified life and business coach. Quinton Baker is a husband and one and leader to many. Quinton is a certified life and business coach. He has been part of many industries and is able to utilize the lessons learned to equip him and others to operate their business in the best manner. Welcome to the show, you two.
Thank you.
And what that intro doesn't say is that you're also the host of the Resilient Love podcast.
I know. I told you everything but that.
Hey, it's always cool to hang out with other people who podcast because we know that you have cool conversations.
Exactly. And honestly, I'm really excited because we are in different parts of the world right now. So it's like we're touching your world and you're touching our world at the same time. So it's cool.
In the magic of podcasting. Hey, so let's go way back to the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your relationship. Where did you meet? How did it start?
He can tell the story. Go ahead.
So we actually met in the 6th grade. So yeah, we knew each other from 6th to 8th grade. I always tell people,
here's the lie.
She wasn't really into me during the 6th to 8th grade. We had 2 English classes, one in the 8th grade and one in the 10th grade together. Mm-hmm. So we did date in the 9th grade.
10th to 11th.
10th to 11th.
Yeah, we dated. And then he decided, I want to go a different route. You know how people say, it's not you, it's me. I heard that cliche line at that point. So after that, we went our separate ways, and I went to college. He went to the workforce. And so then around 2014, we reconnected, and now you see us here today.
Oh, amazing.
Cute. How did you reconnect? Was this like a Facebook thing, or did you run into each other? What happened?
So it was an app called Glide. What we did was we would send little video chats to each other, and eventually became phone conversations. And then one day he asked me, I said, Q, there's a football game. Do you want to go? And he was like, yeah. He was like, but it's not a date. Yeah, okay. And his car got towed.
Yeah.
So then I feel bad because I was like, oh, I want to go to the game with you, but now your car is towed. So we worked through all of that. And he always says, I got to watch where I park at with you because you don't read signs.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was very interesting. Our first official date as adults together.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, towed.
Yeah.
It was a match made in heaven from that point.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of said that people bond over tough moments or over like things like that. So
Exactly. It was tough because we had to walk like 3 or 4 blocks to get in the car.
No. Yeah. So maybe it was meant to be. Maybe it was meant to happen to bring you closer together and like help some problem solving skills and some.
So 2014 to now, you've gone and got married, and now you run a show talking about love. Tell us a little bit about Resilient Love Podcast.
So the podcast is about love and life moments. We do hit points about business, but our main premise is to help bring a narrative of millennial love, because you don't really see a lot of young African-American couples coming together, sharing tips on life, and being almost like a positive example of love at a young age, because you kind of hear this narrative, oh, it's not going to work if you're young. It's not going to work if you haven't reached these particular milestones in life. But we just wanted to use our platform to say it can work and it will work if you work it.
And to also just show the foundational family structure of husband and wife being under one roof. Even though we don't have any kids, we feel that we are definitely preparing very well. We're having diverse conversations with many others around the world.
Exactly.
And it's helping us in forming our lives around children in the future.
So I'd love to ask you, talking about being a great example and like sharing that it can work and how, creating a really great blueprint. So I'm going to make the assumption that neither of you had that. You didn't have a relationship that you wanted to model.
Oh, our models were good. But we wanted to also, because in his life, his parents never got married.
Yeah.
And in my life, my parents are married now for over 25 years. So there was this disconnect on his end of what does it look like to have two parents lovingly in a home together. And so it was kind of funny in our beginning stages. I'm like, let's celebrate your birthday. He's like, it's just another day. So there was some context around his upbringing that really motivated him to be like that example, that upstanding man, that future father. Whereas I myself have experienced that. So that's where the root of it comes from.
Yeah, I really love that, because like quite often, well, when you do get into a relationship, you are trying to bring both of your backstories together and really try and figure out what the life and the relationship that you want to build together as a couple, rather than like all of these other back things that you've learned over time and that may have been what you've known while you were growing up, but may not be what you actually want to model going forward.
It's very true.
Very true.
Yeah.
So what would you say is like the most surprising lesson you've learned running the podcast and having these kinds of conversations on the regular?
I would have to say be prepared for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have, honestly, for me, I would say you never really know what someone else has experienced. Sometimes you have this bubble-like mindset of, oh, well, this is what's going on in North Carolina, but that's not the same story of somebody who's like up the street from me in North Carolina. Like, I'm in this city, but that person's going through something. So it's like really interconnecting the stories of life and understanding that we all fall short and we all need somebody to lean on. And I think that really helped us, even in our marriage, recognizing we need each other. Like, there is no I in team. you can kind of formulate the word me, but I am not me without we. Right. So we have to come together. So I just love that dynamic.
And just the balance of our relationship is truly what helps bring about what you see together, us to here together today, that balance. Sometimes I don't know. It's just like we're so opposite on some things, but we're together on a lot of things. And it's just, we can actually have a conversation, even though we're opposite on a lot of stuff, and come together to a solution.
So you talk about communication being one of the major relationship keys to unlock a really great marriage. So, and you've touched on communication there as well. You can have all these conversations. So what, I guess, is the foundational keys to good communication, or what does that good communication look like?
I'll start with the first one. I'd say listening.
Listening to understand and then to be understood. I think that we sometimes want to jump right in and let you know how I feel, but letting you know how I feel without really understanding how you feel, we miss the actual clarification of what's the point of this argument or what's the point of why we're feeling the way we feel. So I think slowing down and listening, and then also understanding that, and you mentioned this earlier, our dynamics are different. And even if we had the 2-parent household story, it would still be a level of difference, and honoring the differences in the conversation is what really helps too.
And from a male perspective, one thing I notice is studying. When you listen, honestly study to really see what she likes, see what she don't like, really just take that time. A lot of times as guys, we don't listen as much as women. Even though we listen, we don't listen as deeply.
Yeah.
We hear the top level conversation, the top level point.
Yeah. So we forget about it in maybe 10 minutes and that's it. And it's just taking that time to study and just, okay, this is what she likes. This is what she doesn't like.
So you've joined us on the Date Forever podcast. We chat all about, actively dating yourself and then actively dating your partner and the person that you've chosen to do life with. So I'd love to know, do either of you have your own individual practices that you exercise to keep your relationship with yourself fueled up?
Oh, yeah, definitely. For me, I go for walks. I have also my own business. So that has actually built me up, or in a way has given me an opportunity to share my gifts in that particular realm. I also self-care with my nails. I think that a lot of it comes from, for me, I had to relearn that because growing up, I was always the one trying to meet someone else's need. And so I had to actually relearn self-care for me and understanding that it's okay to cancel them and choose me. And in canceling them does not mean I don't care, but I care about me first. And then I'll help you second.
Yeah. And that's not always easy to do.
It's not, because you're like, okay. But no, I had to learn.
And the same here for me. I had to learn, and I'm still learning not to put everyone else and put myself last on the bus. Me, I'm very simple. As long as I get maybe a good hour by myself to drive, listen to music, I'm good for the day. I'm like a kid. If I get that, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is a really important point though too, because I know at the moment people locked down in their houses and stuff like that. It is challenging to sometimes get that little hour or whatever it might be to yourself, or to have that little bit of headspace, or to be able to listen to music or do something that you really enjoy, even if it's not this massive big activity.
And we love a good Netflix and chill.
So then let's change lens. So what practices do you have in your own relationship to keep it fueled up? What does date night look like for the two of you?
So one day I went to a local dollar store and I got us a candle making set, and I had New York jazz playing on this same computer we're looking at you guys on. We were in New York making candles. So I think that was something that we decided to do, especially with the current times that we're living in. We want to travel more, but we had to bring the experience at the house. So that was one date night I really liked.
A date night I really like actually was out of town. We were in Vegas.
Oh, nice.
I've been. Nath hasn't. We really
bucket list.
We've joked always that we would love to do our 10-year vow renewal in Vegas. We're at big casino on the strip. We're just like for fun and like really enjoy that experience together and have a moment of love and laughter and fun in such a cool city. But I don't know if the international travel is going to be on our favor because our vow renewal is at the end of 2022. So we might get there. We'll see. We'll see.
Fingers
Otherwise,
crossed.
we might have to recreate Vegas here in Australia. But
there you go.
Yeah.
And we can come there.
So what made the weekend away so great, Quinton?
For me, one being with Breonna. So if you don't know by now, she has this bubbly personality. If the room is dry and dead, she can just come in and just start smiling for no reason and things begin to move. And so we enjoyed Vegas for the first time for both of us. My first time flying.
A lot of firsts.
Yeah. And just to be able to see the busyness of Vegas and the fun and excitement. One particular thing we did was go to the Eiffel Tower.
It was like a recreated Eiffel Tower.
I did a Valentine's Day lunch there with two of my best friends in the whole world. It's like the most romantic Valentine's I've ever had, and Nath wasn't even there.
It's that good. I'm
that
telling
good.
you.
It's so corny and cheesy, but I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it. We went to the Bellagio. That was a great one too.
Mm-hmm.
Just so many greats.
Moments within that.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that you touched on there, though, that it was a new experience and totally submersive. And it's really, it's super fun to do those things and have, firsts and new experiences together.
I've heard you talk about like this idea of having perpetual first dates. So do you have like a rhythm or something around the dates that you set up, or like how do you kind of organize and make sure that you are continually dating each other?
So we have to physically say today we are going out because our schedules, I am an educator and my husband, as I mentioned earlier, he does a lot of different industries. So he's consulting with people and on the phone a lot. And so with that being said, the schedules get twisted. So to have those perpetual first dates, it's doing the candle. I know one night I cooked chicken and a pineapple, gave us a Hawaiian feel. So it's literally Pinterest and prayer.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just ultimately we get it wherever we can, where sometimes we just pick up and go.
Yeah.
With no plans, and we just, okay, let's see what we're going to do in this city today.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Hey, so you've been together for a little while now and you get to have all these conversations with other couples and you're having, conversations and about the strength of your relationship being quite a topical thing in your relationship. But I would love to know, like, what are some of the things that you've had to overcome in your relationship? What are some lessons that you've learned along the way so far?
Let's see.
The big lesson that I've learned is that you have to fight for your spouse. There was a moment where there was almost like a conflict occurring. And a lot of times you want to be quiet, right? You don't want to stir the pot. But I had to step up and just share an honest moment with his family and say, hey, what's happening right now is not working. And I never really, not the fighter, but I will fight for Q. And that's something that that really taught me a lesson that you cannot be silent when you see something happening. Even if it is a family member saying something, you have to speak up for your spouse. If I could give you a biblical reference, the Bible says to leave and cleave. And I really had to learn to lean on my husband. I was impacted by COVID. I actually had COVID and I was in the hospital, and understanding that what's going to happen next, it was like I have to lean on my husband. He was leaning on me and we were leaning on prayer. And we here today to chat with you guys, but it's just a real moment of this is my partner for life.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad you had a good recovery. But and that's a scary thing because it's new, right? This virus.
Very unknown.
lots of uncertainty. Quinton, what did you learn from that experience?
I would say patience and transparency. Patience because I also had COVID too. Mine wasn't as severe, but at the same time, I couldn't go out, but I'm sitting home wondering what's going to happen. I don't know about this virus. You turn on the news, you just get psyched out. So it can get kind of depressive if you really bask in it. So I had to kind of be patient and really gauge my day, even though I had COVID, and just try to be positive for her so that we could come out of this thing strong. And I would have to say transparent, because in times when you go through something like COVID, you wonder if you're going to make it. And you just start to share conversations and you talk even more in depth. It grows and elevates because you just don't know.
Yeah, it opened up that, what's they say, the next level. It was almost like we was in a game. Next level unlocked. We went through that, so the next level has been unlocked in our marriage, in our communication, and it brought us closer together for sure. So
definitely just after 1 year.
Yeah, I mean, got married in 2019, July 6th, 2019. And so celebrating 2 years just recently. And so, yeah.
It was like the big boss at the end of the level that you've got to defeat to get to that next level.
I felt like I was in the middle of a big giant. Like, I felt like I was in a whale, in the belly of the whale. I'm like, I got to get out of here somehow, some way.
and also, like, the love is so much more than a word. I learned that through COVID, that for me, I tried to do everything I could before she went to the hospital. I was up and down steps all night long. I may have slept for maybe 2 to 4 hours a day, just making sure her temp is okay, making sure she got what she needs. And it was just like,
so you understand the vow in sickness and in health. That vow became, I told you that the level got unlocked.
Yeah.
In sickness and in health was unlocked right there.
And that comes back to the thing that we were talking about right at the beginning about like those moments of shared crisis or shared obstacle that you have to collaborate and get through together. They often do make your relationship quite a lot stronger, because I know that one of the first times that I got really sick, it was before we were married. Nathan and I had traveled to Indonesia. It was like our second time overseas ever. And I got a stomach bug and I was so sick, like probably still even a decade later, the sickest I've ever been. And in a foreign country and like not very well equipped to navigate those kind of things. Yeah. And Nath took such good care of me and was reading me Harry Potter books to just try and distract me from the pain that I was in. And
I went down the street and bought a whole of counterfeit DVDs to go to keep us entertained.
Yeah. And, you know, we were like, we'd worked really hard to save the money for this holiday. And we only had like, I think 7 or 10 days together in this, what should have been a really beautiful, relaxing, restful trip. And it just wasn't. So was the element of dealing with the sickness and the way that Nath stepped up to care for me. And it was definitely a moment where he showed me like, I will have your back. You're not capable of caring for yourself right now. So I'm going to step up and care for you and me. And it's okay that this holiday hasn't worked out the way that we wanted. Yeah, and being okay with, there was no blame. There was no...
yes, right.
Yes.
I mean, it was also challenging because Quinton, I don't know when you got COVID as well, but I also was a little bit sick myself too. I definitely got a little bit of the stomach bug, but maybe not to the same degree that you did. But
yes, not pretty. You imagine the worst gastro you've ever had, it's that and
Right. Yeah, I feel you for sure.
Yeah, I think those tension moments can be a gift. Can really be a gift.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah. When you're on the other side of it and unpacking, like, what did we learn from that? How did that make us better? But those moments can be really testing, and some people don't rise to the occasion together. And I think Nathan and I have this idea, and it's pretty morbid, but that at any one point in your relationship, there's going to be an asteroid of some kind. You know, one of those things that happens to other people will happen to you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that if your relationship's not in a healthy, happy, thriving place, when that asteroid hits, you're starting behind the line, like you're stepping out to the game without any training. So I really like the conversation that you're having about keeping your relationship in a really great place and shining an example on what it can be like. So I'd love to go back to right to the beginning. So you met at school and then you've reconnected many years later. Do you feel like you're high school sweethearts or childhood sweethearts, or do you think it was like all meant to be exactly how it was?
I actually claim high school. I claim high school sweethearts only because like we actually did date, and it was funny because we didn't mention this before, but every year after because we graduated in 2011. So every year after we graduated, we always sent a Facebook message, happy birthday. So his birthday is May 8th. Mine is October 30th. So I would always look for, I wonder if I'm going to get the inbox. And he did. And I inboxed him. So it was this little thing we did over the years as well. So it's like God was like, girl, he's going to be yours later.
Just had things to do in between. Yeah. So I'm assuming that you both went off and like dated other people and had other experiences?
Yes.
I think that actually helped broaden the scope for us as far as how we think, how we interact. Just there's a lot of things you learn from past relationships if you actually apply it.
Yeah. Like even and we had the ex conversation, and I know some people say, well, why do you bring up the ex? I think it's not to dwell on the past, but it's honestly to say, I did experience A, so here's a solution that we should adhere to in this relationship. So, for example, I was in a relationship where there was a lot of gap in time. This particular gentleman, he always had to be on the road for something. And so in that conversation, I let Quinton know I desire to have some type of communication where we check in or a update. It doesn't have to be long and drawn out. Just some type of update to keep us in the loop. And with that, he understood where that came from. So
it's not about dwelling on the past. It's about learning from the past, really.
That's it. Right.
Yeah, I think that's really valuable because I know some couples have the like, no, we don't talk about the ex. We don't talk about the relationships that have come before or any of those kinds of things. Some people don't, they don't know how many intimate partners their current partner has had, all those kind of things. But I don't know. I think every decision or action that you've had in your life up to that point led you to that point. And if you don't acknowledge it, I think you're like denying part of your own story and your own truth.
And your own growth.
Yeah. But I mean, I recognize that they can be quite uncomfortable conversations.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say actually Breonna helped me come out of the shell a little bit more. I grew up more so, I have siblings, but I was the only child in my house.
Right.
So I'm very independent. Even if I'm sick, I will push forward. I mean, if I got a bullet wound, I'll probably just crawl. I had to learn to actually accept help and just really allow Breonna to be who she is, which...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
I like that. Hey, so the two of you have been on a bit of a journey. You went early connection, reconnect, married, and now you're chatting with other couples. What I would love to know is there a top tip, something that you would recommend, something for people to watch, read, listen, do to implement into their relationship to help keep it nice and strong, or a practice that you would recommend?
Yes. The book.
Yes. Before I Say I Do.
Yeah. Before I Say I Do. Once you look it up on Amazon, you'll see it pop right up. It's a nice couple laughing on the beach, but there are some good conversation starters in that book. That book was utilized in our premarital counseling. So we definitely advocate for that book. And number 2, we advocate for
premarital counseling
for sure. And make sure it's someone that either the pastor that's going to marry you or an outside source, just so you could get those conversations out early. I believe that was a beneficial thing for us. And the last thing, always make time. Because guess what? If you get sick, as we mentioned in our conversation, you made time for your spouse when they were sick. So make time when they're well.
Oh, I really love that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. If they became a priority, you've demonstrated that you can shift mountains. So shift the mountains. Yeah.
And in honesty, if I'm being totally honest, the pandemic has been tough on the whole world. But a lot of things I can pull from it and say that they were pros because we were able to spend more time than we ever had before being working remote and just going through the COVID experience together. So I have to say it brought us closer together. And I'm not sure if it would have did that had we not been. It's just
because we were on the go. When I say on the go, I mean 2 jobs for me, 2 jobs for him. We were the on the go couple. So that hope, attention, like I felt like the military. It was tough, but it got our attention.
Yeah.
Everything come to a standstill. And I think also there's been an opportunity through pandemic. I think be near impossible to find someone whose life hasn't changed in some way as a result of just the global landscape. But I think it has provided an opportunity to stop and prop and reflect on like what's important and how do I feel about the lifestyle that I've created, the partnership that I've created, the relationship that I've created, the career choices that I've made, and have that real reflection and make choices that do serve you rather than I'm in it, so I'm just keeping moving. There is that stop and reflect. Hey, thank you so much for joining us, you two. This has been a really lovely chat, and thank you for letting us have a peek behind the curtains of your relationship and what works for you. To say thank you, we've provided some support sessions to a organization called Children Change Colombia. And there's basically the problem is that children get recruited into Colombia's various illegal armed groups and gangs. And once children step into that, it's very hard to get them back into education and away from that path. So yeah, we've made a contribution so that they can run some support sessions to keep children out of those environments and stop them from stepping into high-risk environments. So thank you so much for making that possible.
Thank you.
No worries. So Breonna and Quinton, if people want to connect with you or learn a little bit more about your podcast or what you do, how should they do that?
So you can follow us individually. I'm Mrs. Breonna Baker.
And I am at Ambassador QB.
Or our podcast is Resilient Love Podcast. And our website information is in the bio of our social media.
And what we understand is that you've got a book coming out too.
Yes, Confront the Conflict and Settle the Matter. It's on Amazon. 5 great steps that help anyone in a relationship, whether you're beginning or in the middle like us. Either way, it's great tips.
Yeah, perfect. And
amazing.
Get it on Amazon.
On Amazon, yes. Ebook, great download.
Awesome. Thanks, you two.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks heaps for joining us. If you love what we're doing here and want more, subscribe to the Date Forever podcast to make sure you never miss an ep. Come and hang out with us and other awesome couples who are fueling up their relationships in the Thriving Couples Collective Facebook group, or check us out at fuelcollective.com.au. Until next time, keep on dating, because better relationships equal a better world.